I'm going to again just run you through our headstand inversion. I'm going to show you a bit of tripod and also play a little bit with pincher if you like. So let's begin. So while you're watching, you can also practice if you feel like you know the analytics. If you don't, just follow, okay? So super, super simple. First, you're going to find your elbows. Holding on to the elbows, reaching forward, placing the elbows down, making our little triangle. You're going to interlace or cup. I would cup because maybe if you want to do transitions, which I'm going to show you now, cupping is easier to release your hands in transition. So holding on to the hands, you're going to tuck the back of your head in. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up. Level 1. Level 2, you just walk your hips over your shoulders and stay here. Level 3, you lift one leg up, place it down, and then the other. Level 4, you cycle. So from here, you give little hops. Level 5, bring the knees to the chest. Level 6, you straighten up the knees and just straighten out the legs. And come into your headstand. Shirsasana. You can squeeze the legs together and breathe here. Again, there's all sorts of fun shapes you can create. You can let your legs drop to the side. You can come into a bound angle, bringing the feet together. You can come into a half, one leg straight, one leg pointed. Whatever feels good to you. If you want to practice, you can also practice the L shape by pressing your hips back and engaging the core. And this can lower you all the way down to the ground. So give that a little bit of a play. Take a few seconds, and whenever you're done, just rest on your hands and just breathe. Remember, the base is really important for our headstands. Core engagements is really important, and lifting through the shoulders is really important. So do whatever it takes for you to get that alignment and strength. Alright, while you're playing, I'm going to show you 2 other inversions that we can play with. First one, tripod. Tripod is one of my favorite inversions just because it puts a lot of damage on the neck. So while I'm doing it, I do also advise against doing it too often. Do it once or twice. Again, there's no reason really why you should be doing it, but it is kind of fun, so why not? So, hands down on the ground, and now I'm just placing my head here. If you want to, I can also be on blocks. Version number 1 is I come into kind of like a crow. So I put one knee on the elbow and another knee on the elbow, just to get the feeling of having the legs on the arms. From here, I can see if I can lift up my legs away from my arms and then straighten. Squeeze the glutes, hold, and then come down the same way. Important here is to not look anywhere else while you're doing the tripod. So that is the little practices that you can do just to feel the weight. Be very careful with your head. Again, you don't want to hop into anything. No walls, please. No jumping. This is control, otherwise you're going to hurt yourself. If you're just getting to the point where you're here, this is fine. You can lift one leg, lift the other, lift both, until eventually you feel like you have the core strength to lift yourself up fully. Really, really important. Take a play and enjoy. The final one I'm going to show you is pincher. So I'm going to show you how I get into pincher. It's a little bit of a cheat, but for me it works the best. And I'll show you the way that is recommended to learn how to get up into pincher. Pincher is a lot different for all the other inversions, even handstand, because there's a little bit less control. We're not used to controlling things on our forearms. And also there is a little bit of a kick. It's very hard to lift up into pincher with a press, but it is possible. So first, find your measuring a pincher if you like. This is first the original way, so the way that's recommended. And it takes a little bit more effort. Squeezing the forearms together, hands facing forward. You can keep this block here. For me, the block gets in the way, but you can keep it there and it gives you a little bit better alignment. One thing I'm going to try and do is lift up to the shoulders. Again, pincher is something that perhaps is a little bit easier practice with a wall, but facing towards the wall. So my stomach is facing towards the wall instead of my back. So I'm just using the wall as a support that way to get me lift. Okay. So same thing applies. Make sure you got a strong grip, pressing to the shoulders. Now I'm going to try what's called the scissors kick. So I'm going to let my right leg lead and my left leg stay down. And I'm going to give it a little hop. Just like this. So I start to feel the weight. And I can even swap. So that's level one. Right, just feeling yourself out. The next one is just pretty much commitment. And seeing if you can find the balance for the pincher. Squeezing again with the forearms down, fingertips forward. Giving yourself a nice big kick up. Finding the balance until you get it. Like I said, it's not the way I usually get into it, but it is a way. So the final way that I'll show you how to get into it, a little bit of a cheat. You have to have a little bit of a strong headstand for this, but it's basically transitioning into pincher from headstand. So this way, I find I have more stability because I don't have to kick up onto my forearms. It looks a little bit like this. Again, it's something to try. This is also why I don't interlace my fingers. It's just different. No right or wrong way. From headstand, I find my stability. I release my arms. And I release my head. And those are ways to get into pincher. Practice all the other inversions first before we find our way into pincher. Take a few seconds to play, and if you're done playing, just rest a little bit with your hands in your head. Same thing for inversions, goes for arm balances, and goes for all of the more difficult poses. Is whenever you're doing these, it's important to remember to just practice playfully. Don't do too much, because you can't overdo it, and it can actually cause reverse growth. Because if you start doing it with sloppy form, or when your body's tired, then you're not going to be able to go into the poses. And when you do go into them, you're going into them with bad habits. So do it when you're feeling fresh, and don't do it to the point where you can't do it anymore. Do it until about 75% and then pull out. Perfect.